Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be making some resin coasters using the crushed velvet technique. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix my clear resin according to the resin directions, and I'm filling my coaster molds only halfway up. So I'm just putting a little bit in the mold so that it covers the bottom completely, but I don't want to fill the entire mold up. Once I have my resin evenly dispersed between the 4 coaster molds, I'm going to make sure to spread it all out to the edges and use my heat gun to remove all the bubbles. Before we do the next step, it's imperative that all of the bubbles are removed, otherwise you're going to have bubbles that are visible in your final coasters. So we're going to do each one of the coasters with the heat gun on a low setting. You can also take a spritzer bottle with some isopropyl alcohol, as high a percent as you possibly can find, and you could spritz the top as well. That will help remove the bubbles as well. Once we have all the bubbles removed, we're going to take a piece of saran wrap and lay it flat over the top, trying as much as possible not to get any bubbles between the resin and the saran wrap. By laying it from the middle and going out, that's how I'm trying to reduce the bubbles as much as possible. Once you've got it over the whole surface, you're going to take your fingers and you're going to wrinkle it and crinkle it, pull it in and give it a crinkled surface. So you're going to do this to all 4 coasters, but I do them one at a time. I don't want to have a huge piece of saran wrap and try to do all 4 at once. And once they are all done, you let them cure for 24 hours. You want to make sure that they're good and cured before we remove the saran wrap. And once we've removed the saran wrap, I have some beautiful chameleon mica powders that I will put a link to them down below so that you can find them. And they're really pretty colors that have an interference look to them. So this is what the set looks like. I'm only using 4, obviously, because I'm creating 4 coasters. And you want to have a nice fluffy brush for this. So it can be like a makeup brush, but you want to be able to make sure that it's not a stiff brush. You want to be able to push that powder into each and every single crack and crevice of the resin. So the first color that I'm using there is green. And I'm going to make sure that the resin is covering the entire surface. Sorry, the mica powders are covering the entire surface of the resin. So for the next ones, I'm going to speed it up because you don't need to see that slow. So the second color is called Galaxy. And once again, pushing it into each and every single corner. The third color is called Plum. And you can use the same brush for all 4 coasters. You don't need to clean it between them. You're only taking as much mica powder as you can spread around, so you're not left with a bunch of mica powder on your brush between coasters, so you don't need to worry about that. The last coaster, or the last mica color, is Fuschia. So once they are completely covered in the mica powders and all the nooks and crannies are covered, I am going to mix up some resin and include some black acrylic paint to make it black. You could also use some black alcohol ink, but you want to make sure that it's a nice solid black. And then you're going to finish filling the molds up. And in the end, I actually didn't make enough black resin, so I needed to make a second batch, because when I went to use my heat gun and popped all the bubbles, it didn't actually spread, the resin didn't actually spread all the way to the outside of the coaster, so I did make a second batch to make sure that they filled up all the way. Once they are filled up all the way, you want to make sure that you use your heat gun on a low setting, remove as many bubbles as possible. And I keep going back every 5-10 minutes or whatever to make sure any bubbles that have risen to the surface, I take my heat gun and I remove them. Once all of the bubbles are removed, you let them cure for 24 hours as well. You don't want to take them out of the mold while the resin is still soft. You want to make sure that it's completely cured. So now we're going to wait the 24 hours till it's fully cured. So now they're fully cured. This first one here is green. And then the second one is the Galaxy powder. And the lighting here just doesn't do these powders justice. They change in the light and it's really quite beautiful. This one here is Plum. I love how all of those wrinkles and ripples pop with the mica powders. This one is Fuschia. And it's really that black underneath them that really helps the color pop. it wouldn't be the same if it was clear resin underneath. It's the black that does the magic here. So this is in the sunlight outside. I was hoping to be able to capture the mica changing colors, and you can see it a little bit, but it still doesn't do it justice. So have fun, try this technique. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you'd like to see more of these videos.